The night the sky began to bleed, even the stars hid. Crimson clouds spread like ink, and every creature in the valley stopped breathing. Because they all knew. The heart of Liora was dying. You could feel it in the wind. The light that once sang through every leaf and stone was fading. The warmth of the world was slipping away. But in a quiet cave at the edge of that fading world lived a girl named Liora. She was born in half-light, where day never truly came. Her people feared the dark, but Liora, she loved it, because she believed darkness only existed to make light more beautiful. Sometimes she'd whisper to the wind, "If there's still light out there, will it ever remember me?" Have you ever wondered that? If the world forgot you, would the light still find its way back? That night it did. A single spark drifted through the cave, small, golden, alive. It hovered before her like a heartbeat searching for a body. And when she touched it, the entire mountain trembled. A voice whispered in her ear, soft as a sigh, "Run." And tell me honestly, if the sky itself whispered that word to you, would you run? Or would you wait, frozen in fear like the rest of the world? Liora ran. She left everything she'd ever known, her people, her home, even safety. The mountains ahead were cruel, carved from ice and silence. Each step cut her hands. Each breath burned her lungs. But she kept going. Because something inside her, that tiny golden spark, refused to die. On the third day, she heard laughter. A boy dangled upside down from a vine, eating an apple. "Need help climbing?" he asked, grinning. His name was Kian, a wanderer who claimed he was looking for treasure. But his eyes looked like someone who'd lost more than he'd ever found. Together they climbed, through storms that whispered lies, through frozen bridges that moaned beneath their feet. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes they laughed so hard the mountains echoed it back. And one night, when the stars finally peeked out, Kian looked at her and said, "You know, I think your light's contagious. Funny how some people don't give you light. They remind you already had it. Would you travel with someone like that? Someone who makes the darkness feel smaller?" Days later, they reached the top. And there, above the clouds, hung a floating city, the lost kingdom of Aurealis. Once the heart of the light, now shattered and chained by beams of dying gold. At its center stood a figure bound in black vines, a boy, the same one from Alara's vision, and out of the shadows stepped Noctira, the queen of the void. Her eyes gleamed like eclipses, her voice soft and cruel. "So the spark has come to die." Liora stood her ground. "You stole our light." Noctira smiled. "Light belongs to those strong enough to take it." "Now tell me, do you believe that? Does power belong to the strong, or to the ones who keep faith when everything else fades?" The air cracked, the ground split. Kian leapt in front of Liora as a wave of darkness struck. The vines wrapped him, pulling him into the abyss. For a moment, Liora froze. Then she remembered. The spark chose her. She lifted her hands. The shard in her pocket, the last piece of the heart, burst into flame. Golden fire spiraled up her arms. The storm roared. The chains shattered. She didn't scream. She sang. And the city, that broken, floating dream, began to rise again. Noctira screamed as the light consumed her. "You can't save them all." Alara's voice echoed like thunder. "Then I'll become the light they need." The explosion turned the sky white. When silence returned, the city floated once more, pure and whole. The heart of Liora pulsed brighter than ever. But Liora was gone. Kian woke to a world reborn, flowers blooming, rivers glowing, air humming like music. And in the sunrise, he saw her reflection, smiling back at him through the golden sky. She wasn't gone. She was the sunrise. Now tell me honestly, if you had to choose between living for yourself or becoming the light for everyone else, which would you choose? Years passed. The people built a statue in her honor, the Dawnkeeper, holding a glowing shard toward the horizon. They said when the sky bleeds colors again, it's not the end, it's a Liora painting. Kian stayed in the floating city. Every dawn, he'd stand on the spire and whisper, "You did it." And sometimes, the wind whispered back, "Not alone." Until one morning, the wind changed. It whispered that same word again, "Run." Kian laughed softly. Not this time. He stepped onto his skyboard, the horizon glowing with new islands of light. And as he vanished into the clouds, you could almost hear Alara's voice say, "Light never ends. It just changes hands." And maybe that's what this whole story is about. Not magic, not heroes, but about you. About what happens when your world goes dark, and you still decide to shine. Because maybe light doesn't come from stars or suns. Maybe it comes from people who refuse to stop believing. So, tell me, if you were Alara and the world needed a little more light, would you hide yours? Or would you let it burn, even if it meant changing everything? Think about that. And if this story found you, maybe it wasn't by accident. Maybe you were meant to hear it. So keep that spark alive. Keep your courage warm. And if you felt the light of Liora tonight, let it live a little longer. Stay kind, stay curious, and keep shining. Because somewhere out there, the dawn is waiting for you. If this story touched your heart, don't let it fade here. Keep the light moving. Subscribe, share, and let your own story shine next.